Hello and thanks for joining us on the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. On the program today, federal government insists borders will remain closed as licensed custom agents protest. Oshiomhole pleads with APC governors to implement 30,000 naira minimum wage. And later on the show, CJN cautions judges against using technicalities to hinder justice delivery. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Mojid Jamil. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. Before we start, let's whet your appetite with this video about smuggling situation in Nigeria.
On a look at this, ideally you think that it's carrying palm oil, because if you can see the mouth, it's rubbed with palm oil. But on closer examination, we found that it is rice they are conveying in kegs. I don't know what we are going to call this one. It's kegs of rice, no more bags. Because they know that if we see rice, we must arrest it. They now mix it with palm oil, and then majority of this are rice conveyed in jerry can. Then they rub palm oil at the outside cover to deceive officers. But we refuse to be deceived. We have our intelligence network, and once they bring it, we must arrest them. They were arrested at Idiroko Bush. Those are the unapproved routes that enter Idiroko. You see, what they do is, at the outer cover, it's actually, you even physically see oil. But if you pull it out, what you see is not oil, but rice. See for them. Any step they take, we're equal to the task. We will frustrate their effort. You can see rice pouring. That is another technique used by smugglers to beat the law. As for my men, they are well motivated. Ask any of them. As for the public, we always solicit their cooperation. We need intelligence. We need to get information. It is in a house that they did this packaging. If there is a patriotic Nigerian there, he should whisper to us and will not disclose his or her name. We will apprehend it for the collective good of the country. This is Toyota Land Cruiser 2019 model, armored, that a smuggler was trying to bring into the country and was apprehended by my patrol officers in one of these bush. I think it's around the Humboldt bush or somewhere. They were trying to come in. The implication of this type of vehicle are many, security-wise. This is a bulletproof vehicle. If the criminal finds ownership of this, he doesn't even need to stop for security men, because if you are firing at it, he will go. He will escape you. So with banditry, with kidnapping, and other criminal activities going on, if this gets to the wrong hands, the implication is obvious. It will enhance our insecurity. This vehicle, for you to own it, you need to apply to the National Security Advisor and get what is called end-user certificate, so that they know who owns it and who is using it for security reasons. It's a lot of money to develop our infrastructure. These are the things that these people are evading by taking through the bush path. But thank God, we have our own network, and one of our patrols, through intelligence, were able to block it.
Babajide, I can't believe that the level that Nigerians can go, or these smugglers, because I can't call them Nigerians. Some are even from the neighboring countries that they want to do business here, or Nigerians that want to just beat the border closure. What is this all about?
No, I've said it that any piece of business with a huge profit margin, Nigerians will kill to get involved in it. Imported rice sells for as low as 3,500 in Benin Republic. And you know that once you're able to bring it into Nigeria and you rebag it, you will make huge profit.
25.
Because nobody sells it at 3,500. Yeah. No. Nobody sells it at that rate here. So they will do everything possible to bring it into the country. Some of them will slice open tires. They will slice open their car tires, will put rice inside the tire, seal it back, and drive it into the country.
Mojid,
that's what people will eventually eat. You are putting it in tires. So you are poisoning people.
This is getting ridiculous, Mojid.
Before we started this program, we were discussing that Benin Republic is just 11 million population. And you can imagine Benin Republic importing 750,000 metric tons for 11 million population. At a point, between about 10 years ago, Benin Republic was the highest net importer of rice from Thailand, even more than China. Nigeria, as at then, was on number 28. Benin Republic was number 1. Those rice ends up getting to the Nigerian market. So you can, like Jide said, the kind of profiteering. I mean, you can imagine what is Benin Republic doing with 700,000 metric tons of rice.
All right, Mojid. Now let's go to today's topic. Now it's 3 months since the partial closure of the Nigerian borders, but the federal government has told worried citizens and neighbors that it is not in a hurry at all to reopen them. Not even a protest by Association of Nigerian Licensed Custom Agents could make government change its stance. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, who addressed the protesting agents, said the measure is achieving its aim. Mohammed also stressed that neighboring countries are yet to adhere to the ECOWAS protocol transit of goods. Hence, borders will remain closed. Let's share with you the story from Alhaji Lai Mohammed.
Hundreds of seized trucks are stuck here at the frontiers of the semi-border. In August 2019, the Nigerian government announced the closure of its land borders to tackle illicit trade and strengthen security in the country. It is a move that has been heavily criticized by many people as they believe it casts a dark shadow on the ECOWAS and Africa Trade Pact. But the Nigerian government says it will keep the land borders short until all intended objectives are achieved. A high-powered delegation led by Minister of Information and Culture pays a visit to the semi-border to assess the state of affairs following the closure of land borders. They are welcomed by some frustrated protesters whose goods are also stuck at the border. But the minister is quick to calm the protesters, assuring that the decision taken is in the best interest of Nigerians. Shortly after, the minister in his discussion with journalists explained that the partial closure has yielded positive results. He says the government has recorded a 15% increase in revenue generation and a significant reduction in crime and other illegal importations.
Which states that the ETS concession will be for goods manufactured within the ECOWAS territory has been grossly abused. As goods imported into ECOWAS through these countries from foreign countries come into Nigeria as if they were produced or manufactured within ECOWAS territory.
Also accomplished is one of President Buhari's key policy pillars, which he says is to stimulate the agricultural sector and reduce Nigeria's dependency on oil.
The border closure has impacted positively on revenue generation of the federal government, which in turn will be used to build more infrastructure and develop critical sectors of the nation's economy. It's important to note that since this exercise started, the monthly import revenue has increased by over 15% instead of drop as expected in many quarters.
The minister urges neighboring countries to abide by the Nigerian government's directive and also stick to its already laid down policies.
Judy, I want us to do a kind of SWOT analysis of this move by the federal government. But a lot of outcry when the federal government actually closed the border. But days after, weeks after, now we are now saying what we didn't see, or some people, what we didn't believe what we could actually achieve with this closure of border. Now, I want us to highlight the advantages and the disadvantages. Let's start from the advantages first.
Yes, clearly now we've been able to stimulate rice production. We've been able to re-energize the integrated rice farms that were on the throes of death. Some of them were producing paddy rice, but the paddy rice nobody was buying. Because what is the point in processing rice that you will not find market for? And some of these people took loans from banks. Remember, before this move was made, there was an edition of our program where we disagreed with the claim of the then Minister of Agric that Nigeria was producing enough rice to feed its population. And I said at that time that Benin is only a transit country. The bulk of the rice, because at that time, Benin Republic, according to the documents sourced from Rice Growers Association in Thailand, was the second importer of Thailand rice in the world. And clearly, the rice coming into that country were actually meant for Nigeria. They don't even eat rice that much. So we were consuming imported rice and deceiving ourselves that, our own local farmers were producing enough rice that we needed. So right now, the same integrated rice farms that were approaching death,
Closing up
they are being reinvigorated, and a lot of them have received orders to last even 6 months, because they now have a situation on their hands that they can't even meet demand. So it is because people now see clearly that it is difficult to access imported rice because the borders have been shut. Before now, we behave like an irresponsible country. We allowed ourselves to be so wide open to all comers. When I visited Meadua and Daura last December, I remember saying that even in the president's hometown, the bulk of the rice being sold in Daura was imported rice coming in through the land border. But now that we've tightened up our borders, we can see all kinds of advantages. Even Boko Haram attacks have come down because they need to be able to move in weapons through those borders. The attacks have come down. They no longer kill our soldiers for fun, the way they were killing them about 4 months ago. The illicit weapons coming into the country, it has also gone down significantly. And the most important thing is that custom revenue, month-on-month revenue, has gone up significantly. And it has impacted on the distributable revenue from the Federation accounts, because more money now gets shared by states. Because customs at the end of the month, you say, okay, this is what we generated. And then you are able to use all that. You are able to share all of that. Definitely, states will get more money from the center. Of course, also, because our neighbors, petrol is not subsidized in the countries around us. Nigerian petrol is a lot cheaper. So because of that, some communities in Adamawa and other far-flung states do not even get petrol. But the petrol will be sold across the border, especially as we approach December. But right now, because of the closure of the border, those communities, there's a story that Owolabi Adenosi wrote, indicating that those communities in Adamawa State bordering Cameroon, they are happy now because they have access to petrol, unlike in the past, when they will not be able to buy petrol, whereas across the border petrol gets sold. It is because they make a lot of money from smuggling petrol outside the country.
And government will be subsidizing.
Right now, I have always argued that I disagree that we actually consume in excess of 50 million liters a day. Because even during the Jonathan years, when the economy was much better than this, we were consuming around 30 million. So how could we have suddenly climbed to between 50 to 60 million? So with the closure now, a lot of the smuggling of petrol has come down. We will be able to know how much our people consume, so that we do not continue to subsidize petrol to our neighbors. We actually subsidize smuggling without knowing it.
Doesn't make sense. MJ, how is Igbemorais doing anyway in your own village?
Fantastic. And when I go home, I will bring for my brother here.
Because I went there the other day.
Yes, Igbemorais is doing well, and they can hardly meet demand now. Very
markets,
very nutritious. Yeah. Now to put the facts behind the figures, or the figures behind the facts raised by Jide. Customs now generate between 4.7 billion and 5.8 billion extra every month since August.
And they met their target about 4 weeks ago.
They met the target in 9 months. So that's number one. Number two, like he said, all fuel stations, all filling stations, 20 kilometers from the borders, they have stopped them from getting fuel. So because they discover that they will take the fuel, you won't see, the fuel will not get to those filling stations. It's heading straight to the border. And like we said during our intro, 11 million population consuming 700,000 metric tons. Nigeria with 200 million population and above. We import in 2014 we imported 3.2 million metric tons. Now, as at 2018, we are down to 2.2 metric tons. 2.2 million metric tons.
So I've reduced considerably down.
Now, I know that by the time the 2019 figures are out, yes, 2019 and 2020 figures, it will be drastically low. Now, most of the rice that Benin Republic imports, like Jide said, how can you be 11 million population? China is 1.2 billion population. China is number one. It's only like 100,000 metric tons, more than Benin Republic. And you wonder how or why. So which means the rice that is being imported into Benin Republic finds its way into Nigeria.
Convoys of trailers.
Convoys of trailers. Then another thing, another good news is the fact that our consumption of petroleum, just like Jide said, has reduced by about 30% since August. Petroleum product, which means the rate of subsidy that the Nigerian government pays on petroleum products has gone down by about 30%. So, which means we must
free some money for other things.
Yes, we must sustain this border closure until those characters in the neighboring countries put their house in order. And the issues of Boko Haram, armed banditry, kidnapping has gone down drastically.
Okay, Judy, let's talk about another one now. Fairly used vehicles, because that's something that a lot of people will prefer. Nigerians, they prefer to cross the border to go to Cotonou, go to Togo, and go and bring cars, and they will bring it through this illegal means. Yes. And they will even have some unscrupulous custom officers that will even sign off some of their fake documents, but it will not be reflected on the system here. Now, I think we've curtailed and controlled that area now.
Yes. It's no longer business as usual. In the past, a convoy of 2,000 smuggled vehicles could be coming into Nigeria through Libya, unrestrained. They would drive from Benin Republic to Niger Republic. They will pay money They will pay money at every point. But when they come into Nigeria, they come into Nigeria for free. We don't get a dime. These are goods meant for our country. Our country is the destination. Yet, it is the transit countries that actually get money.
The ship will be berthed there?
Yes, they will collect money there. Then the gendarmes will extort money from them. Gendarmes in Benin Republic, gendarmes in Niger Republic.
Yeah.
They will collect money from them. They will come into Nigeria and then nothing happens. Remember the case of dozens of exotic cars that were seized, parked on one field in Sokoto. I think it was a little over a year ago. Exotic cars. All those cars came into this country without paying duty. So that will stop now. The customs man was talking about those imported vehicles, armored vehicles. It costs a lot of money. And the higher the value of your car,
I think 70%
the higher the
money
duty
you pay,
that you pay.
Yes.
Now, you can imagine someone bringing in a vehicle in excess of 100 million or 90 million and not paying a dime as duty. You can argue that, the dysfunctional nature of our ports encourage people to be diverting goods to Benin Republic. But that is not simply the reason. The same people now know that if they are not to lose their vehicles, they must send them through the Nigerian ports, where they are now subjected to the rates that they will pay and all that. Customs will continue to make money when they opt for electronic means of receiving payment for services.
Yes.
You know? That is what this man has introduced.
Oni is calling us from Ogun State. Thank you for joining us, Oni. Hello, Oni, are you there?
Yes, I'm still there.
All right, go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah. Nigeria should count ourselves lucky to have a leader like President Buhari at this time of the day. Yes, I'm still there. Nigeria should count ourselves lucky to have President Buhari as the leader of this country. And we've not seen the best of him yet, because the way things are going on, if Nigeria could support him to the end, in the next 3 years to 4 years, Nigeria will be one of the leading nations in the world. Write it down and mark my words.
Thank you, Oni. Oni sounds like a Buharist. Thank you.
You see, the story of that armored vehicle that was shown, an armored vehicle, that's a Highlander 2019 model.
Highlander?
Yeah. It's
2019.
It's a Toyota Highlander 2019 model.
And it's armored?
That will cost between 70 and 80 million naira.
For armor?
Yeah, for the armored. Bulletproof. And the duty is that it's supposed to, apart from the fact that you need an end user license from the office of the NSA, the National Security Advisor, you also must pay about 70% duty on it. And so if you calculate, if it's you should pay about 56 million should come to the coffers of the federal government. Wow. But they are bringing it about 56 million.
Because I know the duty is 70% of the cost.
That is it. So
that's what they don't want to.
So that's what they don't want to pay.
But when you look at how much you are
going to incur at the end of the day,
you are investing on a very
now, and let nobody tell us about let nobody tell us about any ECOWAS treaty or any AFCA treaty. The AFCA is African Continental Free Trade Agreement. It's not talking about rice that is produced in China. It's talking about goods that are produced in Africa that should be traded amongst African countries.
No, I guess.
It's rice produced. So some people say, we have ECOWAS treaty. This goods should be allowed to move freely. Is the rice produced in Benin Republic or Ghana? It's from Thailand, and you are bringing it to your country. What value are you adding? So even if you import those goods, you must add some value before you can bring it to Nigeria. If you bagging it in kegs,
if you see if you see the videos that we've seen so far online, you will see even some products that they are bringing from Ghana. You will see even tomato paste, you know, a lot of other products, aluminum bitters, things that, you know, that they want to bring into Nigeria. Is even affecting these perishable goods?
Yes, it's affecting business in our country. It's hindering the growth of businesses in our country. No country should be wide open to all commerce. As great as America is, Trump is tightening the borders. He's trying to build a wall. If you can build a wall around America, he will do it just to stop people coming from America. So for so many years, we didn't do the right thing. And it took the Emir of Kano to say, look, no country can grow if it has neighbors like Benin Republic. It was after that that we moved into action. We had watched them for years, treating us like a sweet wrap on the floor. So today now, what we are demanding from them is simple. When goods are shipped into your country as a transit country, you have to escort the goods untampered with, escort the goods to the final destination. That is the thing.
And pay.
And then goods that are on the prohibited list, poultry products, rice, clothing, vegetable oil, those ones cannot be imported into our country through the land borders. So you will remember that even the Niger Republic has already banned importation of rice into Nigeria. It's not as if Benin they grow rice like that. But what they are trying to do is, since we are now squeezing their neck, they now want to ensure that, okay, those rice brought into their country illicitly and heading for Nigeria,
waiting for December,
that they stop them. So that's what they are trying to do. So once they agree, and I can see that it's quite tough. We are yet to extract the kind of commitment that we want from them. Once they agree,
I think the president is quite resolute about this.
Yes, once they agree, and then of course when you look at the gains, the company is earning more money. The rice growers are smiling to the bank. Jobs will be created through all that. Food sufficiency will be achieved. You'll be tempted to want to continue with the policy. But I believe that you cannot close the border indefinitely. We have to look for an effective means of policing our borders. We have to wage war against ineptitude at the borders, corruption at the borders.
That's what
because
John
that
Mahama
is
was
a problem.
saying.
And then, of course, the issue of the licensed custom agents have to also be addressed. Some of them are saying, look, we harvest coconut in Badagry. We are bringing coconuts into the country. I mean, into Lagos, for example.
From
you
Ghana.
seize them. You seize them
From
and
Badagry.
From Badagry.
Within.
You then seize them and say, no, you must prove that they are produced in Nigeria. And they are saying that the customs people lack the know-how to know whether they are actually producing Badagry or in Togo or anywhere. So I think that they have to also be fair to people. Before the introduction of this policy, there were those who took loans from banks to bring in some of these
coconuts.
bring in some of these goods that we are talking about not through the land borders, because it's through the land border that they are banned. Now, all those things come and then you seize.
You bundle it.
But they have to pay the banks that loan.
Okay, is Shabi from Kano still there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, go ahead with your contributions. Thank you for holding on.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Babajide Inaoni.
Lafia, hello.
Kana Lafia.
Alhamdulillah, yeah, Kano.
Kano Lafia. Kaduna nike.
Okay, I'm not okay, Kano.
Kaduna ni.
Kano.
MJ, I greet you, my brother.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. My issue is that I don't have problem with the closure of border in Nigeria. But the problem is that this border has been closed in Meadua, Gaura. Somebody, an honorable, spoke in the floor of the House, saying that all this area, activities are still going in the border.
Of course.
And I asked a friend of mine who is staying there, who confirmed to me too that this thing is still going on there. What are we doing? What is Mr. President doing? If just 13 kilometers from his own house to the border activities is going, are we saying people in the south are the one Mr. President is governing? Why is allowing all this rubbish to continue here?
Thank you, Shabi. We get the drift.
The
custom, the CG of custom.
There are people, even in the customs, that are bad eggs. What we've had that some people, around 2 a.m., they will allow these goods to come in, and then they take money from them. You can't.
It has nothing to do with south or west or north.
Well, you cannot.
Custom is
the truth is, we must tell ourselves the truth. Borders in this part of the country are better policed than the north.
Yeah.
Before now or now?
Up till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are far more illegal entry points into our country in northern Nigeria than in southern Nigeria. That is a fact. Okay. So the sort of what he's saying may not be far from the truth. What we just need to do is the bad eggs, because I was talking about them before his call came in. We must find an efficient means of policing the borders. And it starts with the personnel. If we cannot find the right people who are incorruptible, of course, smugglers will still be having their way. So the president has to, or the CG of Customs has to find a way to address the concerns. And then, of course, people saying that, you cannot say we should not buy fuel because of this problem. That also has to be addressed, because people, the rice is sprawling community. If you deny them access to petrol,
another fact is that even the custom does not have enough men to man most of the border posts. That's another fact.
Okay, still to come. Oshiomhole pleads with APC governors to implement 30,000 naira minimum wage for workers in the states. Stay with us. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this time out. Is your multi-award-winning program, Journalist Hangout. We're reaching you live from our headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria. And we have been told from time immemorial that what force cannot achieve, patience and compromise can. It appears that resolving the lingering minimum wage question in Nigeria, especially the states, will come down to begging. The national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, APC, Oshiomhole, is leading this charge at the Federal Government Progressive Governors Forum Pali in Jos, Plateau State. Oshiomhole pleaded with APC state governors to implement the 30,000 naira minimum wage and the consequential adjustments. He told them that as progressives, they should be the first to pay. So I like that word, and the consequential adjustment. That means whatever the federal government has, has implemented in terms of the consequential adjustment, that means the states too must replicate this.
Yes.
They
were involved in the negotiation. The federal government is only the representative of this of government in the tripartite arrangement. That's based on ILO convention. It is the federal government that represents government. But President Buhari was magnanimous enough to let each of the geopolitical zones be represented by a governor.
By one governor.
So governors are actively involved, or were actively involved in the negotiation. We have reached the point now that there should no longer be any waste of time, because we were due to have a fresh minimum wage in 2016. Because
now.
Good Lord Jonathan increased minimum wage in 2011. So it means that by next year, we should be talking about a minimum wage. So we have wasted far too much time. If we are not to be in contravention of the constitutional provision, 2020, we must be talking about
adjusting the 30,000 naira.
Another minimum, yes. Because this one, I mean, a new minimum wage fell due in 2016. So when we are in 2019 now, we are still talking about implementing a minimum wage that became due in 2016. So now After months of meeting, haggling, and all that, Labour and federal government representing the states have agreed. And the templates have already been distributed across the states. Right now, level 1 to 6 will get 66%. This was what I said some time ago, that one of my colleagues here was arguing with me that it wasn't 66%. But it's actually 66% that level 1 to 6 will get. Level 7 will get 23%. Level 8 and 9 will get 20%. Level 10 to 12 will get 18%. Level 13 to 14 will get 15%. Level 15 to 17 will get 14%. Labour has made a concession because initially Labour was asking for 30% across board, moving from
23, 20,
level 7, that everyone should get 30%.
Which would have been a big problem.
Which would have been tough for government because the heavy hitters in level 15 to 17, one person could be going home with as much as 100,000 extra. Whereas the argument is that the minimum wage was not designed for such category of workers. But right now, they've been able to agree that, look, let's not do it across board. Let's do it grade level by grade level. And the concessions have been made. So it's not a case of level 7 to 17 getting 30% anymore. So, and everyone came out of that meeting appearing to be happy. TUC expressed joy, NLC expressed joy. And I've not heard from the government that, look, we are not happy about the resolution that was reached. So what is left now is for them to begin to implement.
Mujid, talking about implementation, the federal government foresaw a day like this, and that's why you have discussion on VAT, you have VAT going through upgradings, you have government trying to shop.
Stamp duty fee.
Yes. Now, I went to the filling station yesterday. I wanted to pay for 5,000 naira. I paid 5,050. So it's 50, you know, all this. Now, but talking in terms of states that were even finding it difficult before now to pay the 18,000 naira and the consequential adjustment now, because there's no true way about it, that this percentage that GD has reeled out is what these people must implement. So not what do they call the wage they used to play in Oshiomhole State that time, not modulated wage.
Modulated, yeah.
This new minimum wage, 30,000 naira, and the consequential adjustment.
Yes, I will.
To all states.
I will explain it. It's governors that are callous that needed to be pleaded with to implement this minimum wage.
Why?
Because the average, well, I mean, the level 2 of worker in Nigeria as of today earns about 18,000. So you are pushing their own to 30. That is level 2. So there are some people on level 6 that even earns more than the 30,000. So that's why the thing is adjusted to 66,000. So these are some 66%. So these are some of the things these governors will not want people to know. So that's why I'm happy that myself and Jide, we are from a state that has already started implementing this minimum wage.
Lagos State is doing 35%.
Yes, if
35,000.
If Ekiti State can pay 30,000, then no state in Nigeria should have an excuse.
It's one of the lowest.
It's one of the lowest earners. So the thing is, like Jide reeled out now, 2 to 6 is already on 18,000. That is, the 18,000 was as far back as maybe 2011, and every year there is a, if you are, inflation. You could be on, not even inflation. You could be on level 1 step 4 at 18,000. Level 1 step 7 will be like 19,000 or so. So we have some of these people that are even on probably, even at level 2, you're on like 27,000, 28,000 as minimum wage. So with this 66%, it will only push, it's regulated, it will push you to a particular level. So the same thing with level 7 to, level 7 is getting 23%. So it's very, very minute. But when you add the figures together, you should even think of somebody who earns, like 30,000 per month. Where will that thing take that person to? That money take that person? It can't even take the person to the bus stop, talk less of taking them home. Now, I think it shouldn't even need a plea from the chairman of the APC for the governors to agree to pay this minimum wage if they are really serious. Because you can't explain a situation where Bayelsa will find it difficult paying and owing 6-7 months salary in Bayelsa with 8 local governments. 3 of the local governments are on land, 5 are on water, which means, and Bayelsa is either number 1 or number 2 monthly on the amount of FAC they collect from the federal government, apart from even oil.
No.
But they're in the range of 1 to 5.
The thing is, what they are owing is local government workers that they are owing, because I've investigated.
Yes,
this.
but even at that,
curious claim. No, because
even at that they should be able to pay.
No, because local government workers. What happened was that Dixon left local government workers local government to handle payment of teachers and other people. They then found it difficult to pay, so the governor then decided, okay, let me take over the payment of this category of workers. When he found it difficult to pay, he then pleaded that, okay, can you agree to let me be paying you 50%? He then began to pay 50% until he was able to clear the outstanding. You understand? So when people say, oh, Dixon is owing 8 months, it is not true.
Well,
I have chosen to investigate. That's why I'm saying it publicly, that it is not true.
The local governments erred, despite the fact that
it's the same problem in Kogi. The bulk of the money that we had to take, that Kogi had to take for bailout, were wages of local government workers. People don't know these things, and governors will just simply be blamed. Local government workers.
Well, a lot
of the local government have been so badly run.
Well, for the governors to have, because there's something they call the Joint Account Allocation Committee. They call it JAC. That's why most states have commissioners for local government, who is supposed to supervise the activities of the local government, spending the time they get their autonomy.
And then, of course, too, when you take over as a governor, you inherit liabilities. If a governor owed so much money before you left office, you are mandated, you are obligated to pay. And the quantum of debt that you inherit determines what you have left to be able to handle workers' wages and all that. That's the problem that Oshun has. Oshun now, invariably, maybe at the end of this year, they will be able to finish paying some of those debts. That's no way. You must pay those debts because it's inherited.
Irreversible standing order is there.
Yes. But what most of the states are doing now is, when a new governor comes, if your predecessor is owing like 6 months, you keep the 6 months and start paying from the day you resume, and now you'll be paying arrears of the one left by your the one left by your predecessor. So, but by and large, I think the governors should not have an excuse
to pay that minimum wage. Okay, we'll keep track on that. It's like a developing story. Let's see who is going to pay and who's not going to pay. Because I trust the Nigerian Labour Congress will all call their soldiers out for strike very soon. Now, if justice delayed is justice denied, then justice miscarried due to legal technicalities can best be likened to murder justice, worried by the rising number of cases determined on technical grounds in the country. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko Mohammed, has harped on the need for judges to discharge their functions in a manner that will sustain public confidence in the courts. Speaking at the 2019 All Nigeria Judges Conference in Abuja, Justice Mahmood cautioned the bench to desist from delivering judgments based on technicalities at the expense of substantive justice. According to him, relying on technicalities in justice dispensation contributes to the delay of justice delivery. Babajide, let's give Nigerians practical example of technicalities. And if a judgment from the the new rule, there are some FCJ, there are some cases like by the tribunal, they are not meant to last longer than 180 days. So everything you want to do, you make sure it falls into that 180 days. So maybe you have a case or not. Immediately, we've seen in 2011 or so, if it falls outside that 180 days, you might not get justice. That is technicality. Some, they come...
Sometimes it's not your fault.
Yeah, it's not, most times it might not be, but some, they will be talking about you're using red biro where you're meant to use yellow biro, you know. Some very, very tough on this thing. Now, if the Chief Justice is now saying that, oh, guys, let's get serious. We should just remove this technicality of the thing and go into the substance of the case and deal with those cases and give justice.
You see, the truth is, technicalities are already an essential part of our law. And lawyers merely use this to gain advantage over one another. What the CJN is saying is that there should not be undue dependence on technicalities to the extent that substantive justice will not be achieved. You must work to achieve substantial justice, not simply to just wait based on technicalities and dismiss a matter. No, because at the end of the day, when you do that, justice is not served. I know, for example, that, as you said, if a matter must be decided within so time, and a judge, by his own idiosyncrasies, caused delay, or one of the contending lawyers caused a delay, and then the judge now says, oh, look, we have reached the time ceiling for this matter to be decided, and then he dismisses the matter. Justice has not been served. Look at the case of the lawmaker in Ogun State, that one of the judges sat on his matters, was a female judge who is currently being tried now, sat on that man's case, waited and waited and waited and waited until the end of that dispensation, the 4-year term ended. So at the end of the day, justice was not served because that guy did not get judgment within the 4 years time frame, which enabled the other person to actually enjoy all of those 4 years, even though he was not even supposed to be in the National Assembly in the first place. You know? So these things happen. But you see, that I've seen in recent times when judges will still, based on technicality, they still decide that, okay, this is
Mohamed Buhari. That's making...
You can imagine if the judge had ruled that by saying Muhammad Buhari or Mohammed, that you are referring to two different persons. But two different persons didn't contest, two different Buharis didn't contest for president.
That's what happened in that case.
You know?
Yes.
No, even Masari, Bello Masari,
yeah,
the minority judgment at the trial tribunal in Katsina was also about his name. Imagine trying to say that somebody didn't win election or was not qualified to be governor because
based on the arrangement of his name.
In the form, you didn't write all of the three names. But we all know that Aminu Masari is the same Aminu Bello Masari.
How do you want
so
to...
if Bello is missing, it doesn't mean that it's not that person. So all kinds of but our judges have not changed. That's why the CJN continues to harp on this matter. He's talked about it before, but they've not changed. We still see judgments being delivered. You know that even recently, some judges still gave judgments apportioning votes to a particular person, whereas the law had been amended.
Mojid, tell me your experience on about technicalities.
No, you know, the latest one was the judgment of the appeal tribunal on the Oyo State case, where the judgment ruled against the sitting governor, Seyi Makinde, but said it is statute bad. I mean, it couldn't go beyond that. So there was like a lacuna. Now,
they could not make any declaration,
you could not make any
pronouncement
because it has gone beyond 180 days. Well, what were you looking at? Why did you allow it to go beyond 180 days? Now, another thing that the CGN is trying to say is that, when if you have a three-leg case or a two-leg case, if you are starting especially for election petition tribunals, especially, if you are starting at the lower court, at the first court, which is the tribunal, you must make sure that you plead your case very well. And that's why this thing has to do more with election petition tribunals. So I think the onus is on the judges to heed the advice of the bench, the Supreme Court, the CJN, by ensure that they dispense justice. Like in the case of Oshun, on the technical ground that a judge was not on seat, ordered
yes, I remember that judgment.
one of the judgments.
That it wasn't.
It was not.
It didn't come for that sitting.
It was not present throughout the sitting.
That why should he read
give the judgment? So
It's the law that he must be present.
that is it. That's another technicality. It could have fallen ill. It could have taken ill. Something could have happened. We're all human beings. So these are some of the things that needed to be really addressed. And I think the judges are like small gods. We hold them in high esteem. So they are dealing with human life. They can give life and take life.
If you are sick and you are not part of all the sittings, there could be some evidence led that you will not witness. How do you then sit in judgment? So judges, if you are part of the panel, they can adjourn so that it's when you are fit that you can be part of it. But you cannot fail to...
What of the essence of time?
Jide, I want
you cannot fail to be part of the thing and then come and be...
Because of time now, Jide, I want us to talk from where we were coming from. I remember on this same show in the last 2-3 years, we've been hard on these judges and, you know, the reforms, what they've done, and so far, from the judgment you've been saying so far, are you impressed in any way that people are getting justice in our courts?
No, not totally. Not totally. In fact, the corruption on the bench has not reduced. And it is during election petitions that judges make so much money. Make so much money. We need to ask Senator Adeyeye, because he kept saying judges took money. We need to get that man to provide evidence. We need to encourage him to write to the NJC. Because at every point, that man kept saying, no, that judgment was procured. That judgment was procured. What is the evidence that he has?
More than us.
Maybe, yes, probably some things happened that he was aware of.
He should be able to prove it.
He should be able to come out. We should encourage him to come out.
Yes.
And let the world know that this is what happened. So that the NJC can then investigate the judges concerned. This is the only way we can know what is going on. So many things are going on.
Not just accusation.
Accusations
but,
are difficult to prove, especially...
You should be able to at least substantiate it somehow.
Especially now that Ghana must go and hard currency moves.
No, they don't even collect money in Nigeria.
Yeah.
They fly them abroad or fly them to Ghana, and then that is where the dollars... That is where the dollars are exchanged. They will not move money electronically because the FCC will pick them up. They are not fools. And
they won't deposit money into their
account.
account.
I said something some time ago that I met a Bureau de Change operator who told me that they always have dollars aplenty during election petitions. Because when those judges are bribed, they start looking for where to sell the dollars.
Okay.
You understand? So this is the thing. I still think that a lot of the judgments left much to be desired. But
it's left.
As he said, it's difficult.
Senator Dayo Adeyeye, please speak out. Let's know what actually transpired.
Do you really have proof? So
yes.
let's hear from you.
Let's hear from you. MJ, I want to thank you. Mojib Jami, I want to thank you for your contributions today. and the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade Otitoju. Thank you for another edition again. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of Journalist Hangout. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on our platform showing on the screen. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Bye for now. See you tomorrow, and God bless Nigeria.